today we're going to look into the question of investing into CBD property market and whether is it the right time or is it the right price to purchase any property inside the CBD. But before we go on further to share with everyone, I just want to highlight today, we're not going to bombard, like we mentioned earlier on to the Zoom audience. We're not going to bombard everybody with like those data, rocket scientific, very difficult to understand thing, but rather something that's very street, simple, logical to understand.
Yeah.
So we leave it to you, end of the day, whether, how you're going to decide for yourself. Okay.
It's going to be easy and simple to understand so that you can actually easily grasp the concept, right, of what it's like to invest right into a CBD property market. Okay. So we share with you all right, in more time.
So, okay. First and foremost, a little bit of disclaimer. Okay, so for whatever slides that we've gone through down here, we have painstakingly put them up together. Of course, this is done with research from Jean, myself, and another colleague, Kylie. So we are putting all this together. But of course, as end user, end of the day, you are still, my advice to you is to practice due diligence. Of course, you can talk to different people or do your own research and all this. But what we are giving you is a good guide. I think generally it's
just an indicative guide, right? For you to actually let you understand. Okay, but at the end of the day, right? You actually make the decision for yourself.
Okay. First and foremost, why do you even want to buy a property? Okay, you see, it's coming from an investment angle. We somehow we can quantify, reasons or value. You can put values into certain reasons why we should actually be investing in certain property.
Usually you talk about numbers and figures, right, to actually quantify, right, the investment value.
Correct. But as far as buying something for our loved one, our immediate family members, for example, you're going to start a family, and maybe a young couple starting a family, or it could be like you are pampering your loved one, you're going to buy a house, or to pamper
you want a bigger house, right? Because your family members have actually expanded, so you want to actually move to a bigger house. So it's very personal in that sense, right? When you actually think about buying a home, right, for yourself.
In cases like this, my suggestion is to really come down. You got to see the real thing. Go into the show flat, take a look, move around, and see whether it even fits you in the first place or not.
Yeah.
So we are not here to quantify love. We cannot put a number on love.
Definitely.
But rather, what we're going to look at is more how we can actually try to, as much as possible, to quantify, and put numbers into investment.
Yes. You have to love it, right, before you actually make a commitment for it. And that's what we're actually trying to share with you.
Okay. So generally, let's say coming from an investment point of view, I think people generally buy a property as an investment vehicle based on one of the three following reasons.
Yes.
The first one, of course, being capital preservation. So many affluent people look at investment into property as a vehicle that can actually help them to safeguard their current, portfolio.
It's a kind of like an asset class, right? They will actually try to actually hold as a good investment vehicle. Okay.
And then, of course, there are those actually who buy because they are looking at the capital appreciation part. We are not saying all these 3 pointers are exclusive. Some of them they are rather quite inclusive. You'll probably be looking at one or the other, or maybe a mixture of all of them. So there's another class that's actually looking in terms of capital appreciation. This might be a property, to propel you to something even greater or something even bigger in future. So in order to look to seek out such property, you probably want to look at whether this property eventually give you that first mover advantage or not. So later we'll touch a little bit more on that.
More of like, whether you can actually see the appreciation so that once you actually make that profit, right, you can exit, right, with a very safe strategy.
So the third class, of course, is the third group of people will be looking more like a passive income. They are looking more in terms of rentability. So we explore further later, which CBD area, is very ideal for, whether it's ideal or not ideal for rental. Okay, and then basically, a lot of people are also looking at a rental because of the passive income that you can actually churn out.
You can use it to actually cover for your mortgage. Okay, whether is it actually good enough, right, to cover your mortgage so that you actually have a passive income. Even if you don't work, right, you still can actually rely on your rental income to survive.
Like some of us were saying, we can use our CPF to pay for the monthly installment, but at the end of the day, when we receive our rental income, we're actually receiving them back in cash.
Yeah, that's one of the strategies.
One of the strategies. Okay. So next, before we go on, because in the beginning we talked about whether is it the right time.
Right time, yes.
Right time. So let's take a look at some numbers. We try to simplify as much as possible for you.
This from URA figures, right? It actually talks about the price index, right, of the private residential property. Okay.
So generally, this is actually based on the first quarter 2020 private residential property price index. So we're going to look across from 2020 first quarter all the way to 2021. So back then in 2020, you realize that the property price index has actually decreased by 1.8 points from 153 in the fourth quarter in 2019 to 151.8 in the first quarter of 2020. So back then from 2019 to 2020, you actually see a decrease.
Decrease of 1.2%.
Right. And the overall private non-landed residential properties has in fact decreased by 1.5%. So fast forward, let's take a look at what happens in Q1 2021 instead. So in Q1 2021, the private residential property index has actually went the other way around. It has gone up again by 4.6 points from 157 points in the fourth quarter of 2020 all the way to 161.6 in first quarter of 2021.
That actually translates right to an increase of 2.9%, right, for the past quarter. Okay, so that right, overall, right, from the year 2020 first quarter to 2021 first quarter, right, you can actually see right an increase of 9.8 percentage points. Okay,
so if you can see that little red circle that we have down there, so you can see there's a turning point in the beginning of this year.
Yep.
So far, especially the central area has been still selling quite well. So now we are talking about the time frame. So
is it a good time, right, to actually invest right now?
Correct,
even though you actually seen an increase in prices for the past year.
So different projects, of course, they launch in different areas. Now let's take a look at the next slide. In particular, because now we are talking about CCR. So CCR basically consists of our prime area, our typical district 1, 2,
Raffles Place, Tanjong Pagar,
which is primarily our central business district, our financial area. Then the other area that is actually also very prime, a lot of people are considering will be District 9 and District 10.
Yeah, that's the River Valley, Orchard Road, Bukit Timah area.
And then of course, these days we also cannot rule out District 11 and District 7.
Yeah, that's the Novena, Newton area.
Okay. District 7 in particular has in recent years actually rise quite a fair bit. A lot of people are actually looking at District 7. In fact, last month we saw the launch of Midtown
Very
Modern.
good response, right? For Midtown Modern,
which did extremely well. Okay, so across the board, since 2006, the average price has increased by 104.72% in this area.
Yes, that's basically doubling the price, right?
Yes, doubling the price. If you look at the graph very carefully, it started out with slightly just above 1,002. Okay, till end of basically 2020 for beginning of 2021, it has gone up to 2,644. This is the average PSF resale PSF in this area.
Yes.
Okay, so we talk about some data. We basically summarize the time frame that we are in. But what we want to highlight today is really, when it comes to investment, it all boils down to supply versus demand.
Yes, simple market forces, right? Simple economics, right? Because the supply and demand actually determines the prices, right, of a commodity of a product. Okay, so you can really actually see, right, how supply and demand can play the forces right in here.
As far as why supply versus demand, I always think that supply we can count. So a lot of people forgot about this part, that we can literally count every single supply. So if we are taking from an investment point of view, we know basically if let's say supply is low, even the demand remains constant, right? It will not be too difficult for us to either rent it out or even to resell it in the near future.
Yeah, I mean in simple terms, we just actually give you an example, right? If you have a vendor, right, who actually has 10 pairs of slippers selling at $2 each. Okay, if you remove 5 pairs of slippers, right, and the vendor starts to actually sell right, at $4 right, per pair, right, I'm sure there will still be people, right, who are willing to actually pay for that price, okay, due to the limited supply. It was so funny.
There's another story about the slipper thing. So for those who want to know
you want
to know the slipper story, you have to PM us.
Okay.
Okay, so now let's dive into the supply aspect. Okay, first and foremost, because we are sitting in One Bernam show flat, One Bernam is actually in District 2. Let's just start off with the figure in One Bernam.
Yep.
Okay, this is actually quite an interesting figure. Okay, as of Q1 2021, there's a total of 4,086 units of new and old condos within this area. And then that is actually including the 351 units in One Bernam. Before we extracted this from the portal, from the web portal, I also, like a lot of people, I used to have the impression that, District 2 has a lot of condo. Yeah. In fact, what we are looking at is the whole of District 2, which includes Tanjong Pagar, stretching a little bit all the way to Chinatown and all that. We used to think that like there's a lot of condo in this area.
In fact, a lot of clients right come to us and say there's so many condominiums right in District 2 Tanjong Pagar. You see a lot of condominiums, a lot of transactions right going on. Right, so now we actually put it in perspective. We actually bring out the numbers to you and let you see clearly, right? How many condominium units, right, are they really in Tanjong Pagar?
Okay, to break down the numbers even further, there's for completed developments. Completed means ready. You can move in anytime. It's more like a resale market.
Yes.
There is a total of 3,460 units. And then for uncompleted, that means the new in the pipeline that's going to come in within the next maybe like 3 or 4 years, there will be an additional of 626. That's how we arrive with the number 4086 unit. Okay, so the 4086 includes the 351 in one Bernam as well.
Yeah. So the question is 4086 units, right, in this area too many or too little? Yeah, of course, for us to do that, right, we need to actually put that into perspective and make it into a comparison with the other core central regions that we actually talking about.
Since today we are talking about the CCR, we want to compare with apple to apple, or in fact orange to orange. I mean relevant comparison.
Yes, that's right.
So earlier on, we mentioned one of the areas that we usually compare. A lot of buyers who are buying into District 2 tend to compare us with District 1 because both of us are inside the CBD, Central Business District. Both of us are very much like the financial center and all that.
Yeah.
So a direct comparison, the supply in Prime District 1, okay, if you look at it, the completed unit is actually 5157. This one actually come quite as a surprise to me. Yeah. When we extract the picture, the bubble don't look like there's too many bubble on the right side if you look at it.
That's true.
But the numbers doesn't lie. It says 5157 units. Uncompleted will be another additional 299 mainly service apartments to the area. So that brings the total to 5,456.
Yeah, that is actually still more than the number of units, right, you have in Tanjong Pagar.
So Tanjong Pagar is 4086. So next we look at another district that is usually compared with us. So District 9.
Wow. Okay, so look at that. Okay, so the completed number of units that you have, right, you're actually looking at 24,102 units, right, in District 9. So as I mentioned, right, this area, embodies about River Valley, Orchard Road area, right? The uncompleted units, right, you're looking at 2,816 units with 60 service apartments. And that brings you a total of supply of 26,978 units. That's close to 27,000 units, right? Just purely in the District 9 area.
Generally in the District 9, we have a lot of affluent owners, affluent buyers.
Yeah.
Many of them chose to buy into District 9 basically for own stay.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned in the beginning of our presentation, because if you are really buying something into, for your own personal, reason for your loved ones, we are not going to put a number down there. So we're just going to talk about whether, in general, the perspective, whether supply makes
whether it's actually, well, like I said, we want to keep it simple for you. So we just basically quantify the numbers and let you understand.
So next, we look at another prime district that is always compared with, District 1, 2, 9, 10. Okay, that's this District 10.
That's the Bukit Timah area. Okay, so we're looking at the completed number of units, right, at 31,909 units, right? Uncompleted 4,394 units, right? And a total supply of 36,303 units. Yeah.
Actually, District 10 has always been one of my favorite district.
You say you want to stay there, right?
Yeah, I always hope that one day I will be able to stay down there. I totally can see myself stay down there, very quiet ambience, that kind of thing. Then there are a lot of freehold developments, something that you think that you buy and pass on to the next
generation. Yeah, a lot
generation.
of developments, yes.
Yeah, right. It's also the school zone thing, there's a lot of good schools down there. So this is definitely one area I can see myself, hopefully one day own something down there. But if let's say coming from an investment angle, then I have to look at the numbers all over again.
Yes.
So you realize the uncompleted number, that means something that's going to come up within the next 3-4 years. There is a total of 4,394. Yeah. That's the uncompleted. We're not talking about the whole figure yet. You're talking about the 4,394. Even the uncompleted, actually we are almost like 300 units more than District 2.
The total number of units that you have right in District 2. Yeah. So just purely the uncompleted units in District 10.
Correct. So of course that district itself, there will still be investment opportunity. We just need to sift out the right development. You can always talk to our Huttons salesperson, which is the best development in District 10 to actually to go for.
Sure.
Next, let's take a look at, this is actually a very upcoming district.
Very interesting district, right, to look at.
Yeah. This is the same one that recently we did, Midtown Modern, which sold very well. One of the major contribution of condos sold in that's in March. Correct, March.
Yes, on the higher side.
So completed in District 7, we see there's a total of 3183 units. Okay, not too many. So comparing to us, 4086 actually is quite comparable.
Yes.
But the surprising part is this. The surprising part is uncompleted. There's 1299 units. That's almost coming like 1003.
Yes. So that brings you a total supply of 4,482. Right. Let's say in comparison, right, that is actually still higher than the number of units that we have right in Tanjong Pagar.
So Tanjong Pagar, we have 4086. District 7, we have 4482. That means they have about 400 units more than us. So to be fair, to be honest, 400 units is not that significant. But then again, overall, if you are looking from an investment angle, I think that we really would like to, if we can control the supply, we know that. Let's dive into, just now we're talking about 7, then after that now we're talking about 11.
Yeah, so 11 is actually located in the Newton Novena area. Okay, so there's a lot of medical suites, hospitals, medical facilities right in there. Okay, so we look at the number of completed condominiums in the area, looking at 15,626 units, uncompleted 772, and we have a total supply of 16,398 units right in District 11 alone.
Actually, District 11 has never caught me as being like too big a district. In fact, a lot of people like this district because of close proximity to Orchard area.
Yes.
And then of course the medical suites in those areas. So it's also an area that a lot of people like in terms of investment. And of course, tenants, you then tend to get more medical professionals and all that. So this is definitely an area that is worth looking in terms of investment. But like I say, like what we say again in the beginning of this thing, we're just trying to quantify everything. So overall, we have looked at from District 1, District 2, 9, 10, 11, and 7. Okay, so we can simply conclude that now let's take a look at the next slide. If let's say we take a look at the next slide, okay, this one we're not going to give you the numbers really. We are just looking at the overall, looking at the bubbles that we have down here. So safely said, we did an individual calculation of every unit available in all this prime district that is comparable.
Yep.
District 2, safely said, has the lowest supply.
Yes.
So
in terms of you can see that it's actually sparsely spread out, right, in terms of compared to the other districts. Okay.
So we have a total of 4,086 units. Okay, and of course surrounded by a lot of grade A offices and all this. So as from the other angle, to look at things, basically, if let's say the supply remains low, okay, of course, future there will be new supplies in the area. Okay?
Definitely.
So whether there will be a creation of new demand and all that, but as far as we are concerned right now in 2021,
just supply. Yeah.
So supply is generally quite low. So we do not need extensive demand, but of course, what we want to showcase to you after this is to showcase to you that actually there will be new demand coming into this area as well.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at what we have next prepared for you. Okay. In the beginning, we say it's all about supply versus demand. We cannot be just telling you supply and then not telling you what is the demand that's going to happen in this area.
Yeah, correct. Yes.
So generally in Singapore, demand can come, of course, by market force. Okay, so people can generally come into this area and wants to rent this area, want to buy this area. In the recent years, having in the prime area, I realized there are many young people who are coming back into the central area. As we go for those car-light city kind of thing. A lot of young people like to move back in the central area, but for the convenience and all that.
It's really in the convenience because this is where they work, right? So they really prefer, right, to live where they work. Okay, that's why the tagline live, work, and play.
Correct. So there's another group of people. But let's say, what other forces are actually influencing, the demand in this area? Let's dive into it. Okay. Before we go and dive into what other influences, Jin, what do we mean by demand?
Yeah. Okay. To simply put it, right, if you're actually looking at the demand and if you're a property buyer, right, buying to a specific area, so when you want to actually exit, right, and sell your property in the future, will there be enough, right, buyers, right, to buy a property? Is there a demand for your property? And in terms of rentability, okay, will there be enough tenants, right, to rent the property from you? Okay, so that's what we actually call the demand.
Correct. Is there even a demand? Is there even a reason for the next group of buyers? Let's say today you buy. Is there even a reason for the next group of buyers to come and buy over your resale property?
Yeah. I mean, if you have, your property, right, has a lot of tenants, right, going after your property and they want to actually rent a property, which in fact, right, we have very good examples from our colleagues, right, who are looking for properties for their tenants, but they are not able to because, right, the demand is too high. Okay, they would really have to actually fight for the property.
This is one of those rare areas that actually tenants have to fight for property.
Yeah, which area?
Tanjong Pagar. Well, now you know to play this kind of game, right? Oh, we're starting to enjoy this thing already. Yeah? So you realize we're going to start all this kind of thing already. Yeah? Okay, next. Let's take a look, because we're talking about the demand. So what have actually transpired in the past, okay, overall in average resale in District 2. If you look at the numbers itself from 2005 to date, generally price of District 2 has been increasing constantly.
Yes.
Very smooth curve, constantly, but steadily. Okay, so from 2005 all the way until 2020, there's actually increment from plus minus about $340 per square foot, right up all the way to today 2,200 per square foot. That's like a 572% increment. So in the span of 15, this is all happening in the span of 15 years.
Yes.
If there's no demand in this District 2 itself, you would not be seeing this kind of 500% kind of increment really.
Yeah. So like we said, right, simple market forces, right, demand plays a part, right, in the prices, right, in the property market. Okay, so in this way, right, you can see that demand, right, exceeds, right, the supply in this area. That's why the prices increase.
Okay, next, one of the factor, who is actually at the back end creating all this new demand? Okay, well, we mentioned earlier on, of course, there are young people, trying to come back to live into this central area. In fact, there's also older generations, missing Tanjong Pagar. Some of them grew up in Tanjong Pagar,
yes,
wanting to come back and live.
Yeah.
But these are left best to the market force. Okay, but we are trying to see from another angle. In fact, our government, generally, they are quite hands-on in terms of creating the new demand part of real estate in Singapore.
Yeah. The regulations, right? I mean, the property market, right, is well regulated. Okay, that's why, right, you can see that people are still actually buying the property market nowadays. Okay, you don't see yourself, right, having to actually go for properties that's priced off the market.
So one of the ways that the demand has been, I don't know whether is it intentionally or unintentionally created. It could be because of this CBD rejuvenation scheme. The fact that the government is actually trying to bring back the live, work and play concept into
the vibrancy back into the city,
in the central business district. So let's take a look. A lot of us have seen this before. Back in prior to 2019, based on the last master plan in 2014, there is a lot of emphasis of decentralizing.
Yeah, regional centers, right, in the outskirts of Singapore.
So government was at that point of time, they tried to encourage. They don't want like a really congested central area, so they were actually encouraging people, to move away, into like a Tampines Regional Center. Then you have the Woodlands Regional Center and all that.
Jurong, yes, that's right.
Then after that, fast forward 2019, they realized that something is not like working. Okay, from my own personal view is this. I think we cannot forego centralization, because end of the day, the centralization is
the emphasis, right? The core.
Correct. This is what we will bring across. This is something that we bring overseas to attract all the investment. The high net worth people to come in to build together a newer Singapore.
Yeah, that's what the government wants, right? Actually, to make Singapore a global financial hub, right? So we need to actually attract, right, talents. We need to attract, right, businesses, right, back to Singapore again. And the only way, right, is, as what you mentioned over here, right, is to actually emphasize on centralization.
That is the reason. So a lot of CBD rejuvenation coming back.
Yes,
okay?
That's right.
So now, what has the government done so far? Okay, if you look at the picture on the left, previously it was a largely commercial downtown CBD. Okay, the word says today, but actually we are beginning to change lah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then on the right we see a mixed-use downtown development in future.
So mixed use, which means that just to actually explain to them, mixed use, which means that you have actually commercial as well as residential, right, elements, right, in the same development. Okay.
Actually, it might sound like it's a simple. It could be, you want to call it a simple mathematics or simple strategy. You realize that in order for the live, work and play concept to work, some people might not realize it. I think the common denominator for live, work and play to work is actually the people.
Yeah.
The live, work and play concept will not work if, let's say, there's no people within the district itself.
Yeah. You need to have the human elements, right? In the
correct. That's the reason why they need to rejuvenate, bring all these people back. Then it can work to some extent, because basically, to be honest, every condominium in Singapore, every new launches, even the resale, some of the resale, we are all shouting live, work and play, live, work and play. But live, work and play, in order to work, there must be people there. Yep. And the most convenient, I think, actually, in terms of Tanjong Pagar, because we're already a mature estate, it's basically a mature enclave. The people are already there.
Yes.
So I think if, let's say, by adding some activities in that area, you can already materialize that live, work, and play concept.
I think nowadays we have seen the trends, right, of more and more people, right, are coming back, right, to make this whole place, right, vibrant again. Okay, we're not actually just looking at what used to be, but currently, right, it seems that the plan has already worked. Okay.
Actually, this place is indeed very vibrant.
Yeah.
We're talking about 8 o'clock. I'm looking outside the window there. I still see people, a lot of people walking around.
Yeah, restaurants are stay open, right? Coffee beans are 24 hours. So.
Yeah. Okay. So next, this thing all started in 2019. Okay, you look at there. It's stated that National Development Minister Lawrence Wong. Okay, today he's our Finance Minister.
Yeah.
So this article is extracted in 2019. So back then in 2019, they realized that we need to shift the identity of our CBD to rejuvenate in the long term a newer city center. Okay. So you realize what he said was state planners unveiled a scheme is to ask them to use live, work, and play. Actually.
You need to live first.
Live first, you need to live first. So I always think it should be live, work, and play. More of a norm throughout the currently office-dominated CBD. So you can also see on the right, I think the emphasis is to rejuvenate.
Yeah.
And then he also mentioned we welcome investors to our property market, but bear in mind this, in order to make money, sometimes we really have to see where the government's direction is.
There must be a balance.
We must go in tandem with them. You see them, the way they're going. He emphasized also, but we want to ensure that the demand, we want to ensure is that demand, regardless of whether is it local demand or foreign demand, don't cause price to move at the pace outstrip fundamentals. Okay, so in short, to summarize this point, they want the property price to go
gradually,
but not crazy, not crazy growth. Okay, so it's like a slow, steady growth. So this is what our minister, Mr. Lawrence Wong, said back in 2019. So today he's our finance minister. So guess where the cooling measure usually come from? We touch on that later. Okay, next. Some of the scheme, the CBD incentive scheme, you realize basically they give incentive to all these developers, increase the plot ratio. Within District 2 itself, some of the plot ratios has increased quite significantly. Back in 2014, you can see some of the plot ratio, like for example, let's say International Plaza was 8.4. Today is 10.2.
Yeah.
And then of course 20 Anson. 20 Anson is also one of those that actually took up the. Is it 20 Anson was one of those that took up the CBD
incentive scheme? Yes.
So has increased from 8.4 to 10.2 really.
Yeah. So actually increasing the plot ratio, right, which means that the developer, right, will be given motivation for them to actually increase, right, the plot area they are able to build. Right. So that's actually as part of the CBD incentive scheme is to encourage, right, developers to convert the old existing buildings, right, into mixed new developments. Okay. So mixed use developments, so they will actually increase their plot ratio, right, by up to 30%.
So the two primary areas that they are looking at to increase to pilot this CBD incentive scheme, of course, is going to be District 2. And then, of course, we also have District 1 as well. Yeah. So we're going to see expansion of the CBD within these areas. So plot ratios are increasing, more vibrancy into this area, mixed development, more people coming to stay in this area.
Yes.
But I think generally, it's overall, it's a good idea because early on, we look at the supply. The supply in general in District 1 and 2 is still considered quite low.
Yes. Yeah.
So next, URA approved 6 application for the CBD incentive scheme.
Yeah. So basically, right, what the government has actually done, right, is they already kickstart, right, this CBD incentive scheme, and more and more developments, right, will be actually coming on board, right, to be the beneficiaries of this incentive scheme. Okay, one burner, of course, right, you can see actually increase in the plot ratio, right, and you're right in the middle. If you look at the map, right, you're actually right in the middle of the Anson district, right. That's actually moving forward with this incentive scheme.
You can see, let's go back just now. Can they see us? Can you see the arrow?
Yeah.
So this is where we are, correct?
Yeah, so we are here. It's quite obvious.
Yeah.
Okay.
So other things that the government has actually been, so far we look at it, the government is actually one of the influence in terms of creating new demands. So other, areas that they have touched include like, trying to create a very vibrant, of course, you cannot just simply increase the plot ratio. That's not going to work one way. So in fact, they have a vision. They have a vision for this whole Anson Precinct. Anson Precinct is also where Tanjong Pagar actually is. So they're going to create a 24/7. They never say, 7-Eleven, it's 24/7 downtown and a lively office hour. That means office hour, non-office hour, they're going to create this very vibrant district.
Yes.
So by doing so, they are able to attract a lot of, people, young and old, coming back into this.
To increase the
this
living
area.
population, right, for this area. Right? That's what the government is trying to encourage.
So one thing we also notice, compared to some of the plans that the government have for different areas. In fact, in Tanjong Pagar, you realize they are actually expanding pedestrian walkway rather than roads. They are really going for this car light city, So
Yes.
when we think from another angle, it does makes a bit of sense because
we want to ease the traffic, right? From the
Yes.
CBD, right, and encouraging more people, right,
around.
to take up walking, cycling, taking up public transport, right, instead of driving into a city.
So one of the emphasis is the transit priority corridor, where wider pedestrian sidewalk and a cycling path with a lot of greenery are actually being put into place. So in the near future, we're going to see more greenery. So very hardly, in central area, you see so much greens and all that. In fact, as we're talking, I'm actually facing the garden as well now here.
That's right.
And then the other emphasis is all developments in downtown will be within 10 minutes walk of an MRT station.
I mean, that's the objective, right? To ensure that, every development, right, you'll be actually near to an MRT station. Of course, that's actually for the future, right? But we are very close to that already.
You are very close to that, huh? So now let's take a look. Okay, now the other emphasis, of course, we cannot have everything concrete, metal, and all this. So in Tanjong Pagar, we are also quite lucky. There's going to be lots more greenery in this area. In fact, in front of me is actually a green park. A little bit further away from us, just outside the CBD, but still within District 2, there is the 24-click rail corridor.
Yep.
So that one will walk from all the way
from Tanjong Pagar railway station.
Now the new one will be called Cantonment MRT station.
Yep.
So that one will walk all the way up to Woodlands, 24-click rail corridor, which is and that was the starting point happens to be where in Tanjong Pagar. Okay. So next, the other major thing. This one will be a major influence in terms of creating new demand in Tanjong Pagar area, to be specific.
Yes.
The Greater Southern Waterfront.
The major transformation, I would say the biggest in Singapore.
So going on, the Greater Southern Waterfront, we have heard this news a lot on newspaper, even on radio, on the TV. Basically, it's going to be a very
game changer.
Game changer, yeah. I think the word to use is actually game changer in the transformation of Singapore within the next, I think maybe 20, 40 years coming up. It is basically 6 times the size of Marina, which is huge. Currently, when I go Marina, I look at the Marina transformation, I'm already like, wow, it's already huge.
Yes.
So when you tell me there's a 6 times the size of Marina, I cannot imagine how it's going to be like.
So basically, they're going to actually relocate, right? The PSA terminals, right, for Keppel, for Tanjong Pagar, as well as Brani, right? To another place, so they can redevelop the whole place right into a waterfront city.
But looking at that, the emphasis before we dive into Greater Southern Waterfront, I just want to, give a thinker to everyone. Just imagine this thing, Greater Southern Waterfront, 6 times the size of Marina. I think someone mentioned is don't know how many football size. Think about it. You don't have to answer us. Whether you can have that same transformation, earlier on we talked about the various prime district, right?
Yeah.
Whether this
1,
same transformation,
2, 9, 10, 11, and 7.
Yeah, so put this transformation in all this prime district. Think about it, whether it can even happen or not.
Okay. I mean, the question is, can this happen right in any other districts? I mean, of course, when we actually close proximity right to District 1, right, we are in a District 2, right? But for the rest, 9, 10, 11, and 7, we'll be able to actually find right a transformation of this size, right, in their own districts.
So now move on to some of the notable transformation of the Greater Southern Waterfront. Okay, if you can see some numbers down there, we don't dive too much, because if you want us to talk about Greater Southern Waterfront, we probably have to take
2 hours, 3 hours.
I think 6 hours. Okay, starting from 1, you see the number 1 now there. One of the major transformation, it's going to add a new waterfront district in the area. Okay, so we're going to see new housing in the Greater Southern Waterfront. So right now, waterfront housing, we only see them in the Keppel area, very nice environment.
Keppel Bay area.
Keppel Bay area, recently we have another development, the Reef.
The Reef, yes.
Launched just a few months back.
Yes.
They did very well as well. So this one will bring another new lifestyle into the whole area.
The whole area, yes.
But bear in mind this, Greater Southern Waterfront, okay, waterfront housing inside the CBD, because the reef is not inside the CBD. You are going to get waterfront housing inside the CBD. So the question is, how much? So this will definitely help bring, property price in general. I think it will boost the property price. So if let's say today we enter into One Bernam, we can still enjoy the first mover advantage. That will be, a big advantage to us.
Yeah, because what you're actually buying now, right, is the current prices. But what you'll be able to actually enjoy, right, are the future appreciation, right, due to the transformation of this size.
Number two, basically we're talking about the expansion of CBD. Now the CBD is a stretch of Tanjong Pagar all the way to the Marina East area. So the whole place, basically our CBD we don't have enough. So we're going to expand more CBD areas. So that will definitely be a big boost. We're talking about bigger buildings, more offices, more grade A offices. We have since become like the international headquarters. We used to be like, regional headquarters. And now we seems to be like becoming the international headquarters of many big firms and MNCs and all this. So we will see buildings coming up. Okay, so there's expansion of CBD. And unlikely we're going to expand towards the east, because in the east, we already have our sports hub down there. Then the other thing, when you look at number 3 on the tab down there, number 3, there will be new water maximization resource in this area. So one of the government plan is to tap on the Greater Southern Waterfront to create something like a new reservoir. If you ask me if there's anything similar to it right now in Singapore, I would have to say something like the Marina Barrage. So I don't know, they might be converting the water into fresh water to act as a reservoir for Singapore. We need water, of course, being a small little island country.
Yep, could be.
So the next picture we actually extract from URA previously. So credit to URA. So when you look at this picture, it actually quite amazed me. So according to URA,
this looks like a very futuristic picture. Something that
it can happen,
Well, yeah, it could be.
So previously, we all, when some of us tell me, Marina, Gardens by the Bay is going to look the way it is right now, I can never imagine. It's like Avatar, the movie and all that. So I can never imagine, but it came true.
Yes.
The same applies goes for, our Jewel at Changi, where the big waterfall come down and all that. So if you go to Changi Jewel, you take picture on the waterfall, every picture that you take, it looks like it's an artist's impression, but no, it's real,
Yes.
So things like this can happen. And I have full confidence in our government, the way they bring Singapore to the next level. We are like the model for a lot of countries around the world now, with a few of these iconic developments that has come out. So we are talking about the future Greater Southern Waterfront, a picture of it. Next, let's take a look what we have next. Oh, the Sentosa Brani Master Plan.
Yeah. Okay, so that is actually another transformation plans, right, that you have, right? A total of 90 million, right, will be put into a sensory scape. Okay, so that's actually 30,000 square meters of walkway, all right? And the first phase is expected, right, to be completed in 2022. Right? That's
2022,
actually, yeah, correct. So that will be actually next year.
For those who are unaware, the location of where we are, okay, One Bernam, the actual site, basically, when we talk about going over to the Greater Southern Waterfront, it's about,
actually, you can just go back to the previous slide, right? You can actually see the Greater Southern Waterfront. You can see the position. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, for us to cross over to the Greater Southern Waterfront, we are basically like 500 meters. Yeah. So behind us, the Fuji Xerox building, which also took up the CBD incentive scheme recently, it came out in the news. And then once you cross the 500 meter, basically that's the Greater Southern Waterfront.
Yes. So it will be really, really close, right, to this vicinity. Okay. So property prices will definitely be impacted, right, by this transformation.
So these are the influence, the new demand that will be coming up in this area. So back to here. So once you cross over to Greater Southern Waterfront, the next thing you are looking at is basically the Sentosa Brani. So certain units that we have, in fact, is actually facing the Sentosa Brani,
we have actually a views of Sentosa as well. Okay, so that's actually very beautiful.
So one major, I think, because we are diving into something very layman, okay, actually, in fact, connectivity, a lot of people might not realize it, connectivity actually helps create a lot of new demand.
Yeah, definitely, because convenience, accessibility will actually make people want to actually stay here.
So for One Bernam, or in fact, we are actually within 1 kilometer of 6 MRT station. I mean, when is the last time we even hear of development within 1 kilometer of 2 or 4 MRT station, let alone like a 6 MRT station?
Yes.
A lot of people, are just going for condos within the MRT station.
Yeah, of course, we're talking about existing as well as upcoming ones, right? But the fact that you know that you're actually within 1 kilometers of 6 MRT stations across 4 different lines, okay, you know that you're well connected, right, in terms of MRT station system map.
So the closest MRT station we have is actually Tanjong Pagar.
Yeah.
So that is like probably about 300 meters. If I have to do an
estimate, we walk
3,000. How many times we have walked? About 3.5 minutes at the max, lah. I think about 3.5 minutes.
Well, if you cut through Icon,
it could be even faster.
Yes.
Correct. So the other thing is the other MRT station that's coming up. That one will be ready in 2025. That is actually Prince Edward, which is even closer. Okay, that's like 250 meters away from us.
Just the last 2 MRT stations with Cantonment to actually close up the Circle Line. Yeah.
And one thing I want to highlight, this is something that is shared to me by some of my clients, my investor client. A lot of them, in fact, when it comes to investing in property, they like to go for the Green Line. The Green Line basically connects all the way from Jurong all the way up to our Changi Airport.
West to east.
Correct, east to west, west to east. And almost every other MRT station, it is quite like an important business node. We have the Paya Lebar quarters, we have the second CBD, and then we also have Jurong and all this.
We have NUS.
Right. But there's a new trend, some of them are looking at the Circle Line. Because that Circle Line, if you notice, you look at the map again, the Circle Line basically connects every MRT except for the Jurong Regional Line. So that will also help bring everything together. But we must say that because whenever you are, renting a property, it does not mean that, you
are just looking at people who are just staying there.
Correct. There can be 2 parties staying in that condo. Okay. It doesn't mean both parties is working around Tanjong Pagar. Obviously, you can have one, working in a fusion police or something like that. So the connectivity is actually very, very important.
Very helpful.
So these are some of the new demands that directly or indirectly, in fact, the government is actually bringing across into this area. Next, so the other question, this is something that from the beginning, we want to touch on. Is it the right time to basically invest in property in District 2?
So why now?
Why now?
Yes.
So first and foremost, let me remove this. Sorry, some of the thing is actually blocking us. So why now? First and foremost, like it or not, cost is increasing. Correct, cost is definitely increasing. We are a small little island. Economies, basically, we're talking about the resources are actually not in our favor.
So we have limited resources.
We have that very limited, even up to the construction people who do all this construction to build all these condos and all this. Basically, we are at the expense of import and export. Basically, we do not have our own construction worker, let alone other materials that we actually need.
Also actually imported.
Yeah, basically, you talk about whether is it timber, metal, glass, cement, even sand. All these are all imported. This is the same reason why we see a shift into a PVDC kind of a development. So because we are at the expense of all this, generally, cost is something that's always going to be increasing. And as a result, the price eventually will have to increase. So developer, in my perspective, I think they are actually having a hard time trying to juggle.
To actually balance, between the land cost as well as the price to sell.
So the other reason why buy now, I think interest rate right now is quite low. So many of the buyers,
it's very attractive now.
Yeah, so the investors are making use of the good interest rate now to enter the market. But my bigger concern is the cooling measure.
I mean, that's the prevailing question, for out there, hunting for property. You're also actually concerned whether any cooling measures, will be coming in soon, because of the recent news articles,
Correct. Basically, any cooling measures is going to just simply, 2 things going to happen if, let's say, any cooling measure were to come in. Basically, it's just going to increase the barrier to ownership. Okay, that means it's going to make it more difficult for you to own a property in Singapore. If not, it's just going to increase your costs. So over the years, we have a lot of cooling measures that have come in. And what has happened recently, okay, we have done quite well recently for the first quarter of 2021. You can see condo resale prices in Singapore has been increasing, rise for the seventh straight month. That's quite a lot. So bear in mind, remember just now back to square one, we mentioned that the government want the property price to increase. Don't get it wrong. They are not there to
They're
crash
not
the
there
market.
to actually bring the prices down.
Yeah, in
right?
fact, they are the biggest landowner in Singapore, but they like to see a gradual, kind of growth. So next, you see sharp rises in property. Singapore basically now for the last quarter, everything is going up.
Very hot market, right, for the HDB resale flats. Okay.
Resale
just
is going,
resale flats.
yeah, resale, private
as
HDB.
well. You see volume of transactions, right, going up.
So all this that's happening, to be fair, I think all this information, all these news articles that comes out, in Straits Times, all these figures are plucked from URA, and URA, the government are actually
Official
watching.
figures,
Yeah.
yes.
So next, also high-end condo. We thought, every kind of condo is picking up. Maybe the high-end condo, is escaping all this, but turn out,
Also
high-end
actually
condo sales
in
surge
demand.
as much new home purchase double.
Yeah. So the Midtown Modern, the most recent ones, right, that was actually registering a very good
Sales
figures.
Correct. So overall, property, we can safely say in every aspect, from HDB all the way up to even high-end condo, the sales have been
resale and new launches as
overwhelming.
well.
Yeah. So these are some of the cooling measures that happened in the past. We are not trying here to
tell you that what kind of cooling measures will be coming up. We're just here to actually share with you what is there.
Yeah. So I always think that because of the pandemic, it's not that the cooling measures is not going to come in. I think we are still facing COVID situation. Of course, whatever policies the government is going to come up, it has to be popular in some way.
In balance,
it must be favorable. But they still must manage the whole economy as a whole.
Yes.
They also don't want the prices to run wild. As a result, the general public cannot afford. So there's a few possibilities that come out. They can, there's articles to say that the best thing that works on the cooling measure could be the TDSR, and
total debt servicing ratio.
Then of course also they can also play around with the loan. Maybe now it's 75%. They can also decrease the loan.
I mean, all these are just actually under review. All right, nothing concrete yet. So nothing announced. So
yeah, I'll cross my finger. I would rather register, for some new sales or previous sales, or if let's say I'm looking for something in the market, I probably want to expedite a little bit.
So I mean, you should be actually making a due diligence, right, on your part, in terms of affordability, on readiness to buy. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. So next, where should you buy? I think this one is quite obvious, right? Basically, you are sitting. Okay, we're not saying no. This is one of the development that you really want to consider after we have showcased to you what's happening around this whole area.
Yes.
Supply is extremely low. Despite the fact that you see there's so many buildings around here, you think the supply is very high.
Yeah.
But we already showcased to you the supply is extreme. In fact, the lowest in the prime area.
Demand has been actually steady. You can see the increase in prices, right, over the years, right? So that if you see, right, there's actually ready and a steady demand, right, in the area.
Generally, we want to give you a guide price of the whole area. Okay. So one Bernam, they're going to launch on basically now the show flat is open for preview.
Preview.
Okay.
Yes.
So basically right now what's happening is you can only see the show flat, and then after that you register, you express your interest. Okay. So this is the guide price that we have. For the one bedroom, we have 3 sizes. Okay, the size ranges from 441 square feet all the way up to 463 square feet, and it starts from about 1.0 XX million. So 1.0
very attractive.
Yeah. Super attractive. In fact, all the one bedroom doesn't come with balcony, which means that investors who actually buy
maximize the living area.
Yeah, every single dollar you pay, you can see the corner, on the unit itself. So 1.0 XX is quite unheard inside CBD.
Yes.
Basically, we don't have much of competition right there, actually.
Yeah. And if you think that, starting the price, right, you expect a very low floor, right? But the residential units actually starts from the 5th floor, and 5th floor is actually at a 40 meters high. That's equivalent to a 12-story building.
Yes.
Right. So you are already starting at a very good height to start off with.
So we also have 2 bedroom, very generous size, from 700 to 732 square feet, at about 1.6 something. Really, we don't know 1.6x until where. Typically, developer like that kind of 1.68 lah, that kind of figures. We leave it up to you. You do your own due diligence. Your guess is basically as good as mine. And then we also have very good size 2+ study. So all these materials that you're looking at, all this price guide you have, you can basically get it from our Huttons salesperson. Do contact a Huttons salesperson for the price guide. And 3-bedroom, basically
Very good
only
size.
29 units.
Very exclusive, 1,421 square feet of space with private lift lobby.
With private lift, yes. So these are, highly desirable units that you probably, buyers who are buying to start a family.
Yeah. And they get the best view of the whole development. This is actually
Sentosa
facing, yes.
Then of course we also have a penthouse. Penthouse, amazing, the size 4,306. So this
only
one
only three.
This one we don't have price. So you have to contact us, any of our Huttons salesperson, before we can give you something like a guide price. We have to check on with the developer.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So next, to justify what we have just shown you, the guide price, whether this is a development that you can actually buy for investment, compared to some of the other areas. I think when investment, two things is coming to our mind just now. Of course, capital, preservation, we already showcased to you because the supply is so low.
Yep.
You can be rest assured your money will be well preserved. One of the aspects is to look at the rental side.
The rentability, whether there's actually demand for tenants right in the area. So we actually look at the existing rental market so that you have a good comparison to go with.
So these figures are the 6 most comparable development within a very close proximity to us.
Yeah,
so we have Sky Suites at Anson, we have Altes, we have Icon, and the units, they've been around since like 2008 for Sky Suites, 2002 for Icon. Okay, in fact 2007. And then 2008 or 7 for Altes. So the rental price somewhere about there, okay? The oldest development in this area, Icon, is doing about 3,003 for the 1-bedroom.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
and then of course, the bigger development like Altes is actually doing 3,009. Even small unit size, okay? Sky Suites at Anson are more of a smaller unit size. They are like 366 square feet. They are also doing about
3,000. Yeah.
Correct. So quite safely say this is an area whereby most if not all of them are actually getting about 3% yield and above.
Yes. Very strong rental yields right now for this area.
I think one of the strong rental yield in this area is the fact that supply is too low. Yeah. So just imagine all these units maybe 40 or 50% of them are actually own stay. So basically what is available left in the market to rent out, there isn't too many. So after all, we got only 4,086 minus the 351 from Bernam, another 262 from Sky Everton because they are not ready yet. So we are basically left with only 3,000 over units, to supply to the, 3,000 units own
stay as well as
own stay and rental. So next, take a look at the transaction price in this whole area. Okay, so like for example, let's say just now we mentioned Sky Suites is actually going for is 366 square feet. These are some of the pricing in this area. And a more direct comparison, these are the resale. Okay, very strong resale market in this area. If you look at the resale market over the years, this from 2006, these are the breakdown of the number of units sold. One of the most sellable one actually Icon.
So we're looking at the demand now, right? So basically you actually look at the number of units that have been sold, right? So you can actually see a very strong demand, huge number of units, right, being sold, right, for each condominium. Over 900 units, right, sold for Icon alone.
Yeah, I have quite a few owners in Icon telling me one of the things they regret is they should have bought more than one. Some of them own one unit. There are people who own 2 units.
Of course, you see the rental yield more than 4%.
Yeah, there are a couple of them who say, back then I should have bought more than 1 unit. So definitely this is an area that you really don't want to miss out. And then, of course, we cannot just be comparing with all the resale. Yeah, we need to compare with what is coming up, what's the recent launches,
how recent launches.
So these are some of the recent launches that has happened before us. So prices is still very competitive. If you look at the 1-bedroom, our PSF wise is basically plus minus starting. Of course, the higher floor you go, the higher the PSF might be.
PSF, yes.
But starting PSF of 2004 is basically one of the lowest in this area. Okay, with the exception
the core central region.
In the core central region. But of course, not all the developments here are actually the core central region. The Reef at King Dog, 1-bedroom no more already. Then we also have 2-bedroom. 2-bedroom, we realize our size is actually quite big, 732
square feet. Yes.
So PSF is also plus minus about 2004. In fact, our PSF is actually quite close to the resale around this area.
Yes.
Okay.
Very competitive.
So move on to the 3-bedroom. 3-bedroom, If it is starting from about 3.3 million, we are talking about 2,300 plus per square foot.
But you need to actually feel the luxurious feel, the spaciousness rate of the 3-bedder.
Correct.
Right. It's
correct.
really, really nice.
You got to come here, feel it yourself. In fact, the 3-bedroom is amazing because even the common bedroom, you can accommodate a king size bed. A king size bed, yes. So now we are in this preview period. So what is actually the benefit to register for balloting? Where should I even ballot?
Yeah, of course, right. There's a few benefits, right? For why you should actually register now, because right, you are actually right in the beginning of the preview. Okay, we still have the preview, right, for this weekend, right? Probably until to early next week, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So for you to actually come in to register your interest, which means that you will get to enjoy early bird discount. Okay, so that's when, right, before developer actually raises their prices. Okay? So you need to actually be there, right, for the first mover advantage.
For all we know, this could be the last new launch before any measures come out. But I think we touch on that later. So get to know. Of course, we get to know the price earlier. Basically price, information is king. You get to know the price earlier, because I'm not saying that you need to. I mean, after registering, right, then we have the ballot on the 8th of May. Yeah. Or whether you want to buy or not, we leave it up to you.
Just contact your own preferred Huttons associate, right? They will be able to give you the latest updates, right, on the pricing.
Correct.
As soon as the prices are released, right, you'll be able to know it the first hand.
Correct. If you never register, you won't know the price. Then that will not help you to make a concise decision.
Yeah. Yes.
So because you register, you get to come down on the balloting day. You also get to choose the best unit that you think suits you the best.
Yeah. If you come after the balloting, after the booking, right, basically, right, you will only be able to choose the balanced units.
Actually, this is what I've seen in the past few developments. Some of the buyers will never register when they come back again. After the preview day, then they realize that some of the choice unit has been taken away. So that will make decision making even more difficult, even harder. Okay, so major one. This is the major one. So you get to react in the event there is a last minute cooling measure. I don't know whether the cooling measure is going to come in or not. I hope it's not going to come in like everybody else.
Okay.
But it could
cross
happen.
Our fingers.
Yeah, we are crossing our fingers. But if it does happen because you never register, you don't have an EOI,
an expression of interest.
Yeah, expression of interest, you will not get to buy. Usually when the measures come in, the government will say by today 2359. So everybody rush. I remember the time where we have the last time we have a measure, we have Riverfront, Park Colonial, and then after that Sterling. So there was a rush that night. That night was the most number of units ever, but all those buyers who did not express their interest, that means they never registered.
They will not be able to actually get the chance.
They were left out. So once you're left out, it's not just a matter of whether you're left out. The moment you're left out of that, you don't get to benefit from the pre-cooling measure benefit. You will take at least another 6 months to digest, and then after that, get yourself into that mode again.
Yeah, like you say, right, the cooling measures has two implementations, either to actually make it harder for you to own the property, or actually they increase the cost of you buying
more costly. Yes. So there is definitely benefit when you register for balloting. So do not hesitate to contact your Huttons preferred Huttons salesperson. Then after that, we are still open until 8th of we are open until
4th of May.
4th will be the cut-off check already.
Yes. 4th of May will be next Tuesday.
So until 2nd of May.
So today is Thursday. So contact your Huttons associate immediately, right? Fix an appointment with them because you can only actually visit the show flat by appointments. So fix an appointment with them for you to actually come down and visit the show flat. You have to see it for yourself. Like I say, right, you need to feel and touch and see, right, to be amazed, right, by the finishes and the quality of this development.
Correct. Do not wait until the cut-off date. My advice to everyone is not to wait until the cut-off date because, like I said, if let's say the potential cooling measure can come in anytime. So if you are free tomorrow and you are in the market looking to buy something, by all means contact your Huttons salesperson to come down. If you're only available in the weekend, let's cross our finger and hope that this weekend nothing surprises us. The following is the visiting hours, the show flat viewing hours. because of the pandemic, we are controlling the number of packs in the show flat. So you have to make an appointment. We will start from 10 a.m. in the morning. Every slot is basically 1 hour. So really contact your Huttons salesperson to make a limited slot. We have a limited slot. Okay. So basically, we have come to screen sharing stop.
So we've come to the end of our sharing session.
I hope it benefits everyone, because from the beginning, our intention is not to confuse everyone. We are just trying to give you a very layman kind of perspective, something that's logical.
Yes.
Not like, some of them, they will try to give you certain data that, even I as a real estate salesperson sometimes might not be able to comprehend.
Yeah. So, I mean, I hope that this has been enriching for you. Hope that you've actually learned something right about investing into a property, especially in the CBD area. So we hope that this one can actually benefit in one way or another. But most importantly, right, is to actually really understand, right, the benefits and the potential, right, of this development in this district too, Tanjong Pagar.
Earlier on, we mentioned one question we want to leave. Oh, yes. I posted a question just now to everybody about the Greater Southern Waterfront transformation. So we leave it to them. We leave it to them. We just go and imagine whether all this prime area, will there be another transformation as big as the Greater Southern Waterfront? Will it ever happen in District 1, District 9, or even District 10, 7, and 11? So with that transformation, it will bring about a lot of new demand.
Yes. So that one, we'll leave it to you all to Google it.
So far, I think are we going to take? So we're coming to the end.
Yeah.
Are we going to take any questions? So if you have any further questions with regards, regardless whether is it District 1, 2, 9, 10, 11, do get back to your Huttons salesperson. They will be able to answer most of the questions. So, and I think we come to Bernam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.